with Unique Me 303 Healing and Empowerment. This is Real Talk with Trish, where we talk about all things spiritual, healing, and esoteric. If you're on an ascension journey and going through an awakening process, then this is going to be a podcast for you to watch. This is only my second time doing this podcast. My goal is to make a place that feels safe and supportive for people that are going through a spiritual journey and awakening process, or what I call the ascension process. Have a safe place for people to come and feel supported, where they can talk about what they're going through. Maybe if they have questions, these questions can get answered. Um, I plan on just going with the flow and seeing how things goes. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the shadow side. Obviously, this is my second time doing this. I make videos all the time. I've been doing this for a little over 7 years. However, anytime that I start something new that has to do with my channel, or, that could involve my spiritual journey or what have you, there is anxiety that comes with this. This is a good anxiety. Like right now, I'm 111. I am actually like, my chest is vibrating. I feel like my breath is a little bit hard, um, or what I'm trying to say, a little bit heavy, what have you. But this is something that I am pushing through today. Why? Because anytime that we're faced with the shadow is trying to teach us some sort of lesson that we need to learn. And one of the things that I'm going through right now is really being in this energy of pushing through, no matter what. Okay. I started this YouTube channel about 7.5 years ago, a little over 7 years ago, something like that. And in the beginning, I had a lot of fears, doubts, and insecurities. At one time, I um, lost all my top teeth. I had to have all my top teeth pulled out. And, I had this fear of making videos because I was afraid of judgment or ridicule or whatever may come along with that. So, to be able to get through that aspect and get over that fear, that's a layer of something that people or society or whatever it is, put on me that made me feel as if, I would be judged or ridiculed for that. Knowing that it doesn't really have, how do I say this? It doesn't really hold a lot of weight. However, it did at the same time. So, one of the ways that I work through that is I would make videos anyway. Sometimes I would get done with those videos and I would cry. However, it taught me how to be brave, how to be strong, how to be courageous. And, I worked through multiple things. I could sit here and talk to you about all of these different things that I have worked through when it comes to the shadow side. But what I really want to talk about is how I've learned to love the shadow side. Hi, honey, how you doing? Um, but how I've learned to grow to love the shadow side is by working through it. I've learned to understand that each one of the lessons that it has to present me with, are lessons that are helping me to expand in some way, shape, or form. Um, One of the things that has been the biggest way that I get through the lessons is just by pushing through, faking it till I make it, acting as if until it feels the way that I need it to feel, or it is going the way that I need it to go, or what have you. Um, Again, right now as I speak, this is only my second podcast. This is something that Spirit said, you don't know all the ins and outs of how you want to do it. You have a goal of how you want to do it. But, when we get to start something, our words get mumbled. We feel like we don't really have the right things to say. The nervousness that I'm feeling right now is, kind of making me feel as if I'm jumbling up my words, whether or not I am, I'm still going to push through that stuff. But anyhow, I'd like to know, what kind of things have you had to work through when it comes to the shadow side? And what kind of, um, how do I say this? What kind of frustrations have you had? Or, what kind of things that have happened to you through having to take a look at the shadow side that has kind of weighed you down in any way, shape, or form? These are some of the things that I would like to know how you guys have got through it. Um, oh, Besides just like faking it till you make it, or pushing through, or having some sort of routine that would help you to get through all of these things. What kind of things did you do? I feel like I'm a little bit stuck for words right now, and I kind of was a little bit worried that this was going to happen because, what I really want to do is be able to interview people that are going through an awakening process, whether or not you just started realizing this, several weeks ago or a couple days ago, or maybe you've been going through a spiritual awakening for multiple years now. I would like to be able to interview people so that I can have this back and forth conversation and not feel like I have to fill the whole entire time with just me speaking. First and foremost, one of the things that fuels me and I'm very, very passionate about is sharing my experience, strength, and hope on how I get through things, what I've went through. And, of course, the miracles of, all of the things that developed through all of the things that I've learned. Um, but when I talk with others, it's one of those things where, my voice gets louder. I start to feel at home. I feel very comfortable in my skin because I am talking about things that I've experienced that have a lot of meaning to my life. I came from being somebody who was addicted to drugs, addicted to sex, alcohol, gambling, shopping, you name it. It was something that I was addicted to. And this journey has really put me on this path of self discovery, self love, learning to be okay with who I am and learning to be okay in my skin. Somebody that has learned to take off the mask and, present myself to the world as I am, being fully authentic. As much as possible. And I'm saying as much as possible because, sometimes we still have those little bits of things that creep up that have to do with some sort of insecurity that you may have. One of the new things that's been coming up with me lately is, of course, I've talked about my wrinkles and my gray, but I've realized that, when I make videos, funny, I'm sitting here talking about, my grays and my wrinkles and making videos and like seeing different things that pop out in it that I am working through just making these videos anyway. But it's not about perfection. It's about removing the layers that have been put there and put in place from, our parents, people that we grew up with, whether it be family, friends, loved ones, lovers, no matter what it is. But, we've had all these layers of trauma and drama and guilt and shame and the list goes on and on and on that we have to work through. But the more that we work through ridding of these layers, we start to realize what our true authentic self is. A lot of us have this dream or this vision of what we think that our true authentic self is. But until we start clearing all these layers and all these layers are gone and we feel like we're in this energy of like, I've got to rebuild myself, we really don't understand what being true and authentic means. For me now, being true and authentic means that, I face everything head on, whether or not it's discouraging, it's confusing, it's whatever it may be. Being true and authentic means that I'm being bold when I need to be bold and stand up for myself. And, I no longer have to people please. Instead, when I do things for people, I do things out of kindness of my heart, out of, being someone that genuinely cares and wants to be of service to others without expecting anything in return. Um, what I know is that when I started to take these masks off, I started to realize that I had more support around me than I did when I was wearing the mask because people know authenticity. It's like a magnet. When we're being true and authentic to who we are, around our coworkers, our family and friends and people like that, we start to draw in the people that are made for our authenticity, meaning, not everybody's meant to be drawn to our energy or vice versa. But when we're in our true authentic energy, then everybody that is drawn to us is people that is meant to be in our frequency because they were at the same frequency or very close to the frequency that we are in. So there is an alignment that is happening there. Um, just because I feel like I'm a little all over the place. Again, this is my second podcast. There isn't anybody on here letting me interview them. So I'm kind of going with the flow right now and kind of trying to get over any nervousness that I may have or what have you. But um, so one of the messages that is coming out right now is that a lot of us are in this energy of really working hard to accomplish our goals, dreams, and desires, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But eventually we'll get to this point where we realize that we don't have to work hard to accomplish the things that we have goals set out to accomplish, or things that we desire or what have you. Again, it's about ridding of those layers that have held us down in a dense energy, and as we rid of those dense energies, we realize that things just start to attract to us. It's all about the frequency that we are in and attracting things with the magnetic energy that we have and pulling it into us. um I'm feeling like many of us may be in this energy of having to face some lessons that have to do with communication. For me right now, obviously, one of those things would be communicating to you guys right now, just because, again, this is something new. I have to get back past all the bugaboos and, is the wording that I'm saying right, or is the lighting right? All of these different ins and outs of, that would make my human think, well, this, if it's this way, it might not work out, or if I don't talk in this way, then I'm not going to attract the right people. And again, it's all about attracting people through the frequency that you hold. So whatever frequency we have is the frequency in which we're going to attract. There is an energy of releasing any fears, doubts, or insecurities that you may have revolving around something that you're working on at this time. And you know, uh, for me, coming on here tonight and making this podcast seems a lot easier than what it actually was. It should have been a lot easier than what it was, or in my eyes, I thought that it should, because again, I've made 1,700 videos on here. I went live probably over 300 times on here, including Facebook, on TikTok, and things of that sort. So it shouldn't be a really big deal for me to come on here and do this. However, it is, because this is one of those things that I've been seeing for quite some time, that as I get this started, people are going to be attracted to it. It's going to be something that helps people to grow and evolve. And as it helps them to grow and evolve, I grow and evolve and expand in multiple areas of my life: physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, as well as financially. So I'm pushing through this, even though it took me about 5 hours after I was told to go live tonight, through my guidance team, through my intuition, through like this just internal knowing that I had, that I needed to go live tonight. I also got that internal knowing last night when I made my first podcast. However, the energy of anxiety came on, even though I was praying and I was trying to fight past that and, what have you. I still waited several hours, like I said, about 5 hours before I started making this video, just because I thought if I got in there while I had this nervousness, the right words weren't going to come out, or I was going to jumble my words, or whatever it may be. Again, still right now in the back of my mind thinking, have I repeated this like 5 times? Or, am I losing people because I'm just back and forth? Again, I'm on this podcast at this time working through fears, doubts, and insecurities that I have, because eventually those fears, doubts, and insecurities are going to be gone. And this is going to be something that is going to help a lot of people. So I'm pushing through that because I want to be of service to others. And as being of service to others, this also, again, helps me to expand and grow. So it's helping me to release aspects of myself that, you know, I may have already thought that I had rid of. However, again, everything has like layers to it. When we're healing things, it's not just one layer, there's multiple layers to everything. And, one layer might branch off into other layers that have even more multiple layers. So I'm working through those things right now. The more that I'm talking, the more that I'm sharing what I am feeling at this time, the more that this anxiety is starting to dissipate. Um, I do have cotton mouth right now. What are we doing? Hi, this is day number 2 of talking about a podcast that I am trying to start. I am actually um, starting a podcast for people that would like to come and be interviewed, whether you've been on a spiritual journey for a really long time or for a very short time. This is a place where people can come and feel safe and supported, can talk about their spiritual journey in all aspects, whether it be about the spiritual side of it, the healing, the esoteric, whatever it may be. Because a lot of times, most of the time, I have found during my spiritual journey that I didn't have people that I could talk to. That when I was talking to people, they would either look at me like a deer staring into headlights, or they just didn't understand. And I now know people don't understand because they're not in that frequency to understand at that time. Not all of them, but some of them are not in that frequency to understand. So I'm kind of just going through the motions of getting over my own nervousness. My nervous system is kind of going through some things right now as I am leveling up. I am going through some energies of quantum leaping, quantum jumping, which is something that I intended to do. And this is just one of the things that is being added to some things that I already do. So I'm hoping that sooner rather than later, people will start wanting to be a part of this podcast and would like to be interviewed. It would be one of those things where we're side by side. You're on camera, I'm on camera. We just start talking about the day and see where it goes with anything that has to do with your spiritual journey, anything that I could help answer. If there's healing that needs to be done that I may be able to help you with, of course, that would be free. If there's a reading that needs to be had for whatever reason, Spirit's telling me to do a reading for somebody, we're just going to kind of go with the flow. I'm kind of working through all the ins and outs, the bugaboos. You know how anything that we start new always has a lot of like weird energy that we have to work through, and that's what I'm doing right now. I didn't even want to come live tonight because I had a lot of nervousness. Again, I've already shared on here, I have about 1,700 videos on my YouTube channel and probably about 200 or 300 on my TikTok. This is not something new to me. I've been doing um making videos for a little over 7 years, maybe 7.5 years. But this is a passion of mine, talking about anything that has to do with ascension, awakening, spiritual matters, anything that has to do with healing, esoteric knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Any of those things are things that we're going to be talking about on here. I like to keep it real, raw, bold. I like to share from my experience, strength, and hope, and not from things that I've read out of a book. My whole entire spiritual journey has been things I've learned through meditation, through connections with different ascended masters like Yeshua, or, angels, or, my higher self, or the I am presence, as I'd like to call it. But anyhow, this is a place where, I am bringing a place where people can feel safe and supported to be able to talk about these things. So if you are one of those people who would like to have a place to feel safe and supported to talk about any of these things that I've just been talking about, then please sign up for it. I don't really have like a sign up sheet, but I want one. So put your name in the comments if you're somebody, again, if you've been on this spiritual journey for 3 days and you are like in this energy of having 1,000 questions and you just don't know where to go to get them answered, here's the place. This is the place where I'm hoping that eventually people will be able to gather and meet their soul tribe, gather along with other people for events, and things of that sort. So again, it's just a place where we can have a community that can share their experience, strength, and hope on their ascension journey, their spiritual awakening, and have a place to share those things safely and feel supported. So there's that. And guys, I'm really feeling like I am going to end this right here. I have been feeling a little bit all over the place, even though right now I feel really relaxed, and I'm starting to feel a little bit more calm. I still want to end it right here. I don't want to go too much off a tangent. Again, I am looking for people to have interviews with. If you feel like you're one of those people that would like to do that with me, then please put your name in the comments. I will get you on the sign up sheet, and um, we'll see where it goes from here. If you're somebody that is wanting to, I would suggest putting either your email address, or if you're like on Facebook or something like that, your name, that I would be able to look you up so that we can have a private conversation about this particular thing. I hope that you guys have a wonderful evening. If you have any kind of suggestions for me, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. Much love to you guys. Bye.